Hi, everybody. We're back. Welcome again to another edition of Politics with Roger. I'm Roger. I like to discuss politics. This is our weekly show, our weekly political summary of the relevant news of the week. So, I'd just start off by saying, and I'm glad to be saying this, that if you were a Trump supporter, an American patriot, or a nationalist, this was a good week for us. This is a very good week for us, and you see the tide turning, I think, on a lot of things, particularly the Trump presidency, because the Trump presidency is the spearhead right now of the liberty movement, of the nationalist movement, of the Make America Great Again movement, the America First movement, whatever you want to call it. This was a very good week for the president and for the movement. And we'll get into that right now. We'll start with the NFL kneeling controversy. I don't need to get into the details. I think everyone has heard enough of that. So I'll just go straight to the analysis. Number one, the details and the issue of freedom of speech. Okay, the people that get the say on this, the NFL, it's a private organization, it's a corporation. They have final say on whether or not the speech would be allowed. If the NFL wanted to stop the players from expressing their political views, they could fine them, they could suspend them, they could do all those things. Same would go for the owners, as long as the owners are complying with the organization, the NFL's rules and regulations. The NFL would have the say. Now, the NFL has not stopped the players from speaking out, or in this case, kneeling in the anthem, and that's perfectly fine. They have their right to do that. The NFL has their right to allow that speech. So what the president did by calling out the players who are kneeling was he put basically the fans, Americans, people who were offended by the gesture of kneeling during the national anthem on one side, and he put the owners and the players on, and Black Lives Matter, because it started with Colin Kaepernick and about police, supposedly about police brutality. He put those characters on the other side of the aisle. So he drew a line in the sand and said, these people are on this side defending the flag. These people are on this side arguing a different issue. And the way this is all going to play out, this is going to be a huge win for the Donald Trump presidency, a huge win for the nationalist movement, a huge win for for American patriots. And the reason why is because the consumers of NFL, the ticket holders, the people who watch television, the people who buy products that are advertised on the NFL, they will have the final say on this matter. And what you're seeing is a boycott. You're already seeing an uprising from NFL fans, and a significant number of them openly going on the internet, burning jerseys, burning tickets, making statements. And you're also seeing this reflected in attendance and viewership in the NFL. You're already seeing it having a big effect. I'm already seeing signs of reversals by the players, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Might be a case of too little, too late. We'll see this Sunday if the players continue to kneel. I have a feeling that nobody will kneel this Sunday. Might be wrong about that. If there is kneeling, you're going to see people continue to abandon the NFL. This is going to be a huge win for the Trump administration. There will be capitulation. You'll see this extend in the other sports, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA. If players kneel during the anthem, fans will start abandoning those sports, and they will lose lots of revenues, and they will reverse, they being those people who are kneeling against the anthem, they will reverse themselves because they don't want to lose their fan base, and they're starting to realize that is what's happening. But Donald Trump made a great political move by drawing the line in the sand and basically saying, here are the players, let's have this debate. We're having this debate. People are going to vote with their dollars. A bigger picture of this whole situation also is the role that ESPN has played, the role that the NFL has played. We were talking earlier this week, we being me and some other analysts, friends of ours, and discussing about how this is part of the bigger political picture, the cultural Marxism, the globalist design to basically undermine pride in things that are American, diminish the institutions of our culture, and basically it's part of a destabilization program of divide and conquer in our nation. And ESPN, and we've talked about the corporate media. We always talk about the corporate mainstream media, establishment media, and this corporate combine. And I think it's time to call out ESPN as part of that corporate combine. They are ESPN along with the NFL. Whether this was intentional or not, it was intentional, but I mean, with Colin Kaepernick piggybacking the Black Lives Matter movement, the NFL got dragged into it. But I think this was always part of the plan. The NFL was always going social justice, was going in the direction of political correctness anyway. So this just accelerated that whole process. And now you can call up the NFL, ESPN as part of that combine. You can include them in the same category as Hollywood. Basically leftist mainstream media, leftist mainstream culture, and ESPN is, and of course, everyone's free to do this. ESPN has gotten completely away from sports and has gotten completely into politics, basically. And and I heard this is not my line, but somebody out there said ESPN has become basically what CNN says it is. So I thought that was a great line because, yeah, ESPN, I don't watch ESPN, but every time I read a story about ESPN, it's a political story now. And it seems like the NFL and ESPN are political institutions at this point. We'll see how that goes for their business moving forward. Again, in the culture war and the media war, Berkeley this week canceled Free Speech Week. The birth of free speech, Berkeley, California, and the University of Berkeley has been a hot point with patriots, and this all centers around Milo Yiannopoulos and other characters, right-wing characters, Ann Coulter, other personalities, scheduling events that often get canceled either because of protest or because of protest, because the students will not basically allow right-wing promoters to exercise their First Amendment right. So Berkeley, again, is showing their stripes. And this is also a part of what I was just talking about establishment media and infiltration of Marxism into our cultural institutions. And the university is a big part of that, as we know. The university is supposed to be a bastion of free speech, a bastion of a free exchange of ideas. For years, conservative speakers or right-wing speakers or defenders of the Constitution have been going to universities and have either been shouted down or been getting pied in the face or have basically had their First Amendment right taken away from them in all these instances. And now we're seeing Berkeley has become a hot point because this isn't the first time in this summer that this has happened in Berkeley. Speakers are invited and then canceled. And this is, again, a part of what we always describe as the globalist process of taking a cultural Marxist process of taking over institutions, the institutions of higher learning, the university, which I don't think a lot of people would argue that these are mostly leftist institutions at this point in modern America, the university system, and what we just talked about, the media, the corporate media, not the independent media, the corporate media with players such as Hollywood, ESPN, and now the NFL, etc., etc. Just want to say one thing. Los Angeles went up to Berkeley, or Los Angeles again represented the Republicans of Los Angeles. California is ready for a big change. People don't realize that, but I want to say, way to go to the Red Elephants. The 3%ers were up there. Latinos for Trump were up in Berkeley again, and they're always representing, always ready for a fight. So congratulations to you guys, and across the nation, we would thank you guys in Los Angeles for joining and trying to change California. Because for people that don't know, driving from LA to San Francisco, it's a 6, 7, 8 hour trip, and we have patriots in this city that are that dedicated. I did not go to Berkeley; it was other people. So anyway, I just want to give them a shout out. Another story about the institutional infiltration of cultural Marxism into our institutions. We talked about the media and the universities, and now there was also a story this week about a cadet from West Point. I'm not going to say his name. Don't want you to know his name, but it was a cadet that basically gave Colin Kaepernick a shout out while in his West Point uniform with a sign saying "Communism will win." And for those of you that don't know the significance of this, we are a constitutional republic. When all our military members, all of our representatives, our government representatives, our police, our fire, they all take an oath to the Constitution of the United States. So to come out and say you're a communist is to openly come out against the oath that you are sworn to take when you enter into public life. So to have a West Point, and you know, West Point is an elite military academy. A lot of officers come out of there. So to have a West Point cadet brazenly and boldly claiming communism will win while in uniform, a West Point uniform, is just a pretty incredible thing. We'll see how that turns out for this young man. I don't think he anticipated that his photos would get as much attention as they did. You know, there's a second photo and tweet of him in a Che Guevara shirt, who was a murderer. So anyway, pretty interesting about the media, about the infiltration, Marxist infiltration that we talked a lot about today, permeating all over the place. And then another story, again, this again touching on the media. We had a lot of stories about the media, and I'll have to run through these quick. Media censorship. There was an Islamist from Sudan, a refugee Islamist. Again, I don't want to say his name either to glorify it. Shot 7 and killed a person in a church in Tennessee last Sunday. The big story here is you probably haven't heard about this story if you watch cable television, watch CNN, watch Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS. And if you did hear this story, you may not know that this person was an Islamist, a Muslim, and you may not know that he was from the Sudan as a refugee. And the reason you wouldn't hear this on mainstream media is because it goes against their narrative that no borders, you know, taking in a lot of refugees from war-torn countries is a good thing for our country to be doing. Predictably, we bring in people from war-torn countries and third world countries that don't even like our country, don't like our culture, don't like the people here. We bring those kind of people here. We will be seeing violence. We will be seeing violence. We'll be seeing mayhem and death. And this is what a situation where we had that in a church. We'll be seeing more about this story from the independent media. You will not be hearing it in the mainstream media unless we force them unless we force the story to the surface, and they have no choice but to report it because everyone knows about it, and that's what happens. That's how information travels these days. Just another example of media bias, because, you know, I mean, you can fill it in. If it was a Christian that walked into a mosque, there's also the racial element. Won't get into it. I mean, you all know the double standard, the media biases that exist in mainstream media. Here's another case of it. Very sad, and this is why people are abandoning corporate mainstream media and going to independent media. Surprise, we're the media now. And in another story to confirm that, and this is what I want to throw this one in here, there was a new media star born this week, a man named Brandon Tatum, who shoots short analysis videos, and I guess he came out in political videos and culture videos, and he came out and spoke about the kneeling controversy. And new media is so powerful. This particular channel, this Brandon Tatum individual, had over 40 million views in a single week. And, you know, CNN, these are numbers that cable television companies dream about. They can't achieve these numbers, and the new media is just killing it. The new media is the new media. Surprise. Internet media is the new media now. If you're still watching cable television, you are getting information that has already been filtered through social media and through new media, and it's only picked up by corporate media once the story has been filtered and it is so obvious. Basically, by the time information gets to corporate media, that is the last stop for information. I mean, it's already been filtered through social media and the blogosphere and the video blogosphere by the time it gets to corporate media. So if you're watching corporate media, you are getting it last. You're getting information after it's already been processed, and therefore you get a spin. But Brandon Tatum, 40 million viewers on his YouTube page or Facebook, I'm not sure which, but 40 million viewers either way, and probably much more than that by this point. New media is king. Moving on, more great news for Trump support, the Trump presidency. We're starting to see a turn. Economic growth over 3%. We won't talk a lot about this. I'll just flash a collage of stories now to support growth over 3%. We're getting positive economic news. President is now pushing tax cuts. We still have a do-nothing Congress. They didn't pass Obamacare. We couldn't get Obamacare out of the House and Senate. And I don't know if we'll get tax cuts out of the House and Senate, but the president is promoting those. I think Congress is I think people are starting to focus on, I know people are starting to focus and have been focusing on Congress and the do-nothing Congress. The president is not taking blame from his base for the lack of bills being passed in Congress. So we'll see going into 2018. We'll see about these tax cuts. But the economy is growing and doing very, very well against all expectations, well, against mainstream media expectations. I don't even know what to say about that, but whatever. Moving forward, a huge primary in Alabama where Roy Moore defeated Luther Strange. And this is a great story, too, because Donald Trump backed the loser, Luther Strange. He endorsed him, and Roy Moore still won. And even though Donald Trump backed the losing candidate, his base, Donald Trump will not lose one vote from his base because during the process, Trump admitted that he may have made a mistake, and he was sensitive to the base that was not happy about the endorsement to Luther Strange. They said that he should have endorsed Roy Moore. He should have endorsed Roy Moore. Roy Moore won. It proves that Trumpism, nationalism, MAGA, Make America Great Again, America First, is more powerful than Trump the individual. I'll say that again. Trumpism is bigger than Donald Trump. The movement is bigger than the individual. And this is significant for so many reasons. But it's just more than anything, it's very exciting for the libertarian movement. It's very exciting for the Make America First movement. And we're very, and the base is very pleased with Donald Trump and his responsiveness to us. So just a great week overall, over again and again. A lot of victories in media, victory, I think, at the university level. Just a lot of great things happening. Victory in the economy and victory happening rolling into 2018 with with the new Congress and Trump's first Congress. And last but not least, and there's a couple things signaling. We always look into the future, and the future is looking bright too. And there's one big sign that I picked up that really got my attention. Was Roger Stone was in the news this week, testifying about Russia, testifying about frivolous investigations that poor guy has been pulled into. John Podesta shot out a tweet. I'll find it and post it here. I don't know the exact words, but something about Roger Stone being a criminal, Roger Stone going to jail, or something like that. And Roger Stone fired back. And again, I don't have the exact words, but he basically fired back calling John Podesta a pedophile, implying that John Podesta is a pedophile in public, on Twitter, in front of the whole world to see. Now, since the WikiLeaks scandal or the WikiLeaks leaks broke last year, right around this time of year, actually, about last year, and all this information came out about the Podesta brothers, Hillary Clinton, the DNC. People have been calling the Podesta brothers pedophiles and a lot of other different things, and they've never sued anybody for defamation or have even come out and defended that charge. Roger Stone coming out and calling John Podesta a pedophile on Twitter. I mean, the gloves are coming off. I don't know what's happening in the DOJ with Jeff Sessions, and we do know that a lot of pedophile rings have been broken up and a lot of arrests have been made since the Trump administration had taken over. But I mean, it's John Podesta's silence in this instance is just it's incredible to me. If someone publicly called me a pedophile on Twitter, I would respond. I would have, you'd be forced to respond. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible thing, and the Podestas have remained quiet. I think the gloves are coming off. You saw Steve Bannon make comments on Fox News that the Rhino Republicans, the establishment Republicans who betrayed their base in 2014, and really far before that, Bannon basically made some political threats that they're about to get their comeuppance too. So, great week for the Trump supporters. Great week for MAGA. We'll see. I mean, it makes me very optimistic for the weeks coming forward. We'll see if we can get any legislation through Congress and the Senate, or the House of Representatives and Senate. That's what we need to do at this point. It's not happening, but you see a lot of great things happening politically, a lot of moving parts in culture. Even on the world stage, we didn't touch North Korea this week. Kind of more of the same. And, we'll keep an eye on all these stories. Thanks again for coming. Politics with Roger, September 29th. That was our summary. We'll see you next week. Thanks.